passing. He caught it. Touchdown. The Cowboys are out in front with 42 seconds left.
Welcome into the Believe in the Cowboys podcast here on the Believe Podcast Network, the network for professional podcasters, brought to you by Bet Online, back and better than ever. All eyes on the gridironers. Teams are back for another football season, and as always, Bet Online is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. And with new and updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, Bet Online continues to be the number one source for everything football. So head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use our promo code BELIEVE on your first bonus. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. I'm Paul Catalina alongside former Cowboys quarterback Danny White. And Danny, you were in Foxborough last week for what was one of the most fun and ridiculous games I've watched in a long time. And my first thought about it was, this is a Cowboys team that's a lot different because in the past, even teams that we thought were pretty good, 11 penalties, 2 turnovers in the end zone, a bad call, on one of them, a bad review, all those things would have meant the Cowboys lost to a team that was less than them. But this team if they're going to get beat, somebody's going to have to beat them early, or they're going to have to be a team like the Buccaneers, because you cannot leave them alive, and that's what the Patriots, unfortunately for them, did.
Yeah, Paul, I don't know what it is, what's going on with the whole league right now, but maybe we keep talking about the football gods. Maybe they're making up for a year of COVID.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is, but the games all around the league are just crazy. But that game Sunday, it was up and it was down, and you're right. And I knew it was going to be a strange day when we got up Sunday morning and it was sunny. The weather was beautiful. No rain or snow, or which we just about always get in New England. I had mixed feelings when I woke up because I knew that I was the last Cowboys quarterback to win in New England, and so I didn't know whether I wanted the Cowboys to win or not. I wanted to keep my little. I don't have very many mentions left, and there went another one. But it was, 13 times we'd played, 7 wins for the Cowboys, the first 7 games, 6 for the Patriots, the next 6 games. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
And so it's just a crazy relationship that we have. I don't know if it's with Bill Belichick. I don't know if it's with the Patriots. I don't know what are the mayor of Boston. I don't know what it is, but somehow, some way, those games just are always crazy games, and this one maybe the craziest of them all. At the end of regulation, we were jumping out of our chairs in the press box. We were rolling on the floor the next minute, and then overtime, and so it was a fun game to be to. And I'll also tell you, I'll bet 70% of the fans were wearing Cowboy jerseys.
Well, I heard the first time Amari Cooper caught a pass, you could hear on television people yelling "Coop," and I thought, well, that's strange in Boston.
You thought they were booing.
Yeah. But I thought, then he caught another one. I was like, well, why of all the people would Bostonians boo Amari Cooper? He's never done anything to them. And then it hit me like, oh, they're yelling "Coop." There's the Cowboy fans are traveling, and that's amazing to see. And of course, you win 4 games in a row now, 5 games in a row. You've awoken the ghost of Cowboys fans past, and it is, as you played for the Cowboys in a great era of Cowboy football. The fans are everywhere. You guys experienced it when you were playing, and they're still everywhere.
And they have football gods in New England as well as in Dallas. They were watching over that game closely. I think the final determining factor came from Coach Landry. And he was tired of it. Finally, had enough, and said, "Okay, we're gonna take this one." And Bill Belichick has a little ways to go before he catches up with Coach Landry.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, he does. And they, I just the way things were going early, you wondered how the game was going to shake out, and you could see that the Cowboys, and you've seen this in the games where like Carolina and Philadelphia, New York. Philadelphia's probably a little bit different, but in those games, you can see the Cowboys are this much above that team, but they don't until the second half really lay it on, which is when you want it anyway.
Yeah.
But there was something about that particular game where they're just they were letting New England hang around, and you don't want to give Bill Belichick any ideas. That's the last thing you want to do is his game plan to work and then have another idea of something you're doing wrong he notices in the game. And that was what kind of kept my stomach churning during the game. But Kellen Moore just kept coming up with answers, play calling wise. And while the defense got beat early, for a couple hours during that game, I mean, they gave it 60 yards until that big play at the end. So they're not by any stretch of the imagination scary on defense a lot of the times, but they've been effective. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing it on defense, and they managed to clamp down when they have to.
Well, let me tell you one of the things they do, and that is they jump their defense around right up until the snap of the ball. Once you get below 5 seconds on the play clock, they're going to start jumping around, and they're not going to give you a chance. They're going to try not to give Dak a chance to get out of a bad play and into a good play. They do it probably more often than they don't, but just enough times Dak will get into a play that will bust the defense, and up comes a big play. And you'll see them, they'll stop them, and then up comes. Well, what's happening is either they go on a quicker cadence and they catch them in the bad defense before they can jump out of it into a good one for the play you've got called, or Dak gets them changed into the right play right before the snap of the ball. I mean, these cat and mouse games that are going on right now, what you can't do is let the defense control the game. Mm-hmm. And that's what was happening is the defense was dictating to the Cowboys what they could run. And it's all defensive coordinators try to do this, but it depends on the quarterback you're playing. I watched Teddy Bridgewater in Denver play the other day, and he could not get into the right play against the Ravens. The Ravens had his number, and they were timing it just right. Well, Dak is too good for that, and he didn't let him do it, or at least he didn't let him do it enough times. You make them pay enough, and they're going to stop doing that. They're going to have to play you straight, and that's what Boston was doing early in the game, and finally, Dak got him out of it. But and then the Cowboys, as long as we're talking about football gods, the injury. Look at the injury scene around the league. I mean, how would you like to be without Dak, without Zeke, and without Tony Pollard?
Yeah, I wouldn't like that.
And going to a game, which is what the Cleveland Browns are doing tonight. Mm-hmm. That would be, and there are teams that are playing like that now. The Cowboys had their left tackle, okay, who was limping around with a neck and a leg, but he played through it. To his credit, they had a quarterback who's not 100%. They had a running back who's not 100%. They had a right tackle who's missing, although they've got another one that's filled in admirably and played really, really well for them. So the injuries are a big deal in the league right now. And managing injuries, managing backups, managing young players is what the league has become, at least for this year. Now, if they can figure out a way to get through training camp with 3 games instead of 4 and still get bodies ready. If you don't play a guy like Dak or a guy like Zeke in one play in the preseason where there's live bullets flying around, he's not going to be ready. I don't care how many years he's got in the league. He's not. Brady played. There are different schemes and different philosophies when it comes to playing. Personally, being old school, I think they got to play some in the preseason. But if they don't, you better be ready for injuries. It's going to happen. They're going to have to fight through it, and that's what teams around the league are figuring out right now.
Yeah, and they're look. I know Dak, strained his calf, and he on that last play, the touchdown to CeeDee Lamb. But the prognosis on that is pretty positive and good. They're getting Lyle Collins back, now after the bye, so they'll have him against the Vikings.
Well, where's he going to play? Are you talking about? I just drew a blank. What's the guy, the baseball player's name that got?
Wally. He might have gotten Wally pipped. Yeah,
Wally Pipp.
He might have gotten Wally pipped for sure.
The Wally Pipp of the Dallas Cowboys. Because other guys are taking advantage, and I need to make a list. There's a list of 8 or 10 players for the Cowboys that are totally taking advantage of this situation and making a pretty good argument for getting a contract coming back next year. They already got 2 rookies. One of them, from my alma mater here at Arizona State, that have now been signed to contracts because they played so well being elevated from the practice squad. Then now they're on the team. So you're seeing that happen all over the place.
Yeah, and they just everything they're whatever they're doing, like you said, they're living right. The football gods are treating them well. Michael Gallup appears to be probably back.
What's he going to play?
Yeah, exactly. But they'll have the depth, and it's a 17-game season now. So having that depth come back eventually. Neville Gallimore is getting closer. Still don't know about Tristan Hill. Kelvin Joseph, their rookie cornerback, is going to be available for them here soon, which will be good in depth, that they need. I mean, he hasn't played yet, so we don't know how good he is. I mean, we've hardly seen I got hurt in a preseason, so we don't know anything about him. But it's good to have those guys that you like, that you draft in the second round, available for you to play down the stretch. And then eventually they'll get Tank Lawrence back, which will be really, really good for a defense that has played well without him. Especially, Randy Gregory has really come into his own in the last 2 weeks.
Yep, making hay while the sun shines, I'm telling you. And I heard him on an interview yesterday, I think it was, and I was so impressed with him. Such a sharp guy. But how about, you're going to have to help me out, Paul, with some of these names, because I'm just coming off of back surgery, as I told you yesterday, and I'm not the receiver who's filled in the slot.
Cedric Wilson.
Okay, Cedric Wilson. Mm-hmm. Did you see the play he made on 4th down?
Yes.
I don't know how many times you've gone back and watched that catch that he made. Totally won the game for the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. Okay, making that catch on the sideline, and it was a ball that had to be thrown where it was. He had to throw it over the defensive back, and he came down with it. Cedric made an unbelievable backwards looking up into the sky. One of those plays, that your body's completely contorted. And it absolutely, without that play, the Cowboys lose that game. And there were as many of those types of plays in that game as I can remember in any one game. You can go through that game and pick out at least a dozen plays that without them, the Cowboys would have lost that game.
And also you can talk about wide receivers. Noah Brown, who for years was, when they put Noah Brown in, it was because they're running the ball. He's a really good blocker, and he's a special teamer. He came in and he had a 3rd and 7 catch that made a difference. And usually in the past, Noah Brown is like, well, they're going to run the ball because he's an excellent blocker. But now everybody has a role in this offense, whether the tight ends, Dalton Schultz has made himself a bunch of money. Blake Jarwin, who's already got a great contract, is contributing. Everyone's pulling their weight, especially on off. Everyone's everywhere. Everybody's got deficiencies, sure, but I think the sign of a true good team, you look around the league and the ones that are really good, like the Ravens right now, everyone's pulling their weight. The Cowboys, everyone's pulling their weight. There's not a position that, even if you're not as good as you want to be at it, where you say, well, this guy's playing below his ability, or he's not playing up to his contract or whatever. Everybody's right now pulling their weight.
Yeah. And talk about Dalton Schultz, what he's done more than anything is gained the confidence of Dak Prescott, so that Dak is looking for him more than any other player to throw the ball to. Zeke, believe it or not, you always have a little bit of a hesitancy to throw the ball to a running back as a quarterback, especially in a key situation. Well, that's not true with Zeke. He's become a quality receiver coming out of the backfield. Tony Pollard has become a quality blocker so that they can play him on third down, and the defense doesn't know where they're going to go with the ball, because normally when you put Tony Pollard in, it's because he's going out for a pass route. He's not going to stand and block. Little things like that confuse the defense and make it harder to prepare for the offense and what they're going to do. And so there's a couple of guys that have contributed to the fact that defenses don't know what the Cowboys are going to do based on their personnel package.
Yeah, it's really been impressive. And of course, we'll see what happens with Dak once they get to the Minnesota game and his calf. But again, I think
he's fine. He's fine. I've had those before. It's a little strain. He got it on the last play of the game, and I saw him. He was backing up, kind of throwing off his back foot, and he planted a little bit wrong, and it tweaked just a little bit. And those kind of things go away in a couple of days. So, and again, here you go. You want to talk about the football gods? Look at the Cowboys' schedule. From 4 preseason games, it started out with 4 preseason games instead of 3, extra game to get ready. The break, they didn't get a 14-day break and then a 7-day break between games. They got a 10 and a 10. Huge difference in preparing for 2 teams. They got a 10 after the last preseason game because they played on Thursday, and then they played on the next Sunday. Okay, 10 and 10. They got the bye week now. Perfectly staggered between the first break and the second break, which is going to come Thanksgiving. Now what do they get? They get Thanksgiving and another Thursday game the next week, 10 and 10 again instead of 14 and 7. And these breaks in the scheduling, it's like Jerry went into the league office before the season and told him when he wanted to play and where he wanted to play. And that's exactly the way it's working out. It's a total advantage for the Cowboys.
You know what else I'm looking forward to on the schedule is some of the teams. I mean, they got the Chiefs on the schedule this year. They've got some good teams. There are times where you'd be like, oh man, the Chiefs, that's going to be a rough one. I don't know. It's going to be rough.
That's a loss. That's a loss. You look at that at the start of the season, you say you chalk it up. That's an L.
But
just
now,
put an L next to it. Well, now not true. Okay, not the way they're playing right now. So there again, injuries are playing into this whole thing.
Yeah, they are, again, everything's worked out for them. The Vikings, and we'll talk about this on next week's show because, again, this is the bye week. Sure. The Vikings are an interesting team in that they can do some things, but they're, the old Bill Parcells cliche was you are what your record says you are, and they're 3-3. That's what they are. And I'm a little worried because the Patriots ran right at the Cowboys, and Damian Harris is good. Dalvin Cook is better. And that's what they're going to have to contend with is a healthy Dalvin Cook.
How much you want to bet that Dalvin Cook gets hurt in the game Sunday? I would take that bet, I think. The football gods are so favoring the Cowboys. I might take that bet.
Yeah, he might, and he's fighting through an ankle, which for anybody isn't good, especially for a running back. It's not good, and one that came back and had 29 carries, I think, in the win that they had over the Panthers in overtime last week. So there are some things to obviously look forward or worry about, but the Cowboys schedule works out. Some of the teams that people thought were going to be better aren't that much better, or they're just this much in a gap. When you draw the AFC South, and the only really good team in that is the Buccaneers, so NFC South.
So they drew the right division in the AFC. Yeah. There you go. There's another one.
Yeah. Yep. You got the right divisions on your scheduling, and they've got a pretty, aside from like a random game here with the Raiders, that might be tough. We'll see how they, rally around Rich Bisaccia through the rest of the year. But yeah, there's just a lot of positives looking ahead after the bye, Danny. And, I'm cautious to say book your playoff tickets, but they've got a division that's really, really bad. I mean,
they got the Redskins. Well, the football team.
Yeah.
How long does it take to come up with a name for a football team? Will somebody explain that to me?
I don't know.
They have a contest, they let the fans vote. It takes them a week, and they come up with a name. It's been 2 years.
I know. Before you decide.
And for broadcasters, that's brutal.
It's terrible.
Have to keep calling them the Washington football team. Anyway, they play them in subsequent weeks, with one game in between. That's total advantage for the Cowboys, the way they've got the travel and the home schedule set up. It just goes on and on.
Yeah. Back to the football team for a second. You're right.
Yeah.
Do a contest. Also, when you decide to change your name, which they clearly did because of the pressure, and it's fine, whatever they want to do. But you should have had a plan going forward. They just said, this is what we are right now. We'll tell you the plan later, which kind of explains why there's all this turmoil around the Washington football team, because they don't really seem as an organization to have a plan.
It's about selling jerseys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. They've been telling them this for 5 years. They have a plan. And for 5 years, Washington has known that there was a chance, that they were going to have to change their name. There are a lot of other teams, a lot of other schools, a lot of other NFL teams that are kind of in that boat right now. It's easy to come up with a plan. The football team is gonna milk this thing until they're completely out of football team jerseys. They're going to sell their last jersey the day before they announce the name of the new team, the new name of the team. So it's all planned out. It's all strategized, and they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. And whatever the new name is, it's probably going to disappoint people. But either way,
Sure.
And it's hard. I think everybody wants to say the San Diego Chargers. They didn't change their name; they changed their city. But it's hard. It's hard for broadcasters. The two guys I host a radio show with are Washington football fans, but they want to say Redskins. Like, that's just in their.
Sure.
You played against the Redskins, 20 times or something like that, 22 times.
I called the Chargers the San Diego Chargers 6 times before finally. My play-by-play guy, Kevin Ray, was hinting at me. I'd call them the San Diego Chargers, and he'd say, or the LA Chargers. I didn't even get it. I didn't even catch it until 6 times I'd called them the San Diego Chargers. Finally, he had to reach over and tap me on the knee and say, Danny, it's the LA Chargers. And I told him, yeah. And then I came back on and I said, well, I'm struggling with the name, the LA Chargers. I really get confused when the San Diego Chargers play the Houston Oilers. That's when I really get in trouble. So far, that hasn't happened this year, but when it does, I'll be in trouble.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I wish that the Titans would have just given Bob McNair the Oilers name. But
sure.
The Texans has always been
on everybody.
Texans has always been kind of a bland name for me. It doesn't do it. And plus they could sing the song again. It'd be nice. Well, Danny, please recover quickly, and we'll talk again next week. Relax, have a nice bye week, and always great stuff from you. Always enjoy doing the podcast. This is the Believe in the Cowboys podcast. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast, or to this video on YouTube. And we'll be back again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Have a great football weekend, everybody.